Take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? Human being, God damn it! My life, I tell you! It's time to ask yourself what you believe.
Mass murder, torture, perjury, embezzlement, fraud, deception, treason. These are just a few of your many crimes against humanity. You will not win this war, for you are fighting the very essence of humanity.
They want to hear the Thanksgiving song, huh? This is a Thanksgiving song. I hope you enjoy it. Love to eat turkey. Love to eat turkey. I love you. Love to eat turkey, 'cause it's good. Love to eat turkey like a good boy should, 'cause it's turkey to eat. So good. That clapping's messing my head up, man. I appreciate it, but I was trying to think of the next line. I'm like, all I hear is clapping. Here we go. Thanks anyway. Turkey for me, turkey for you. Let's eat the turkey in my big brown shoe. Love to eat the turkey at the table. I once saw a movie with Betty Grable. Eat that turkey all night long. 50 million Elvis fans can't be wrong. Turkey lurkey do and turkey lurkey dap. I eat that turkey and I take a nap. Thanksgiving is a special night.
Hi, welcome to Truth or Talk. I'm April Bowden.
And I'm Virstyne Henry.
Please visit our website at truthertease.com, our store at shop.truthertease.com, where we have the Conspiracy Realist t-shirt available for purchase. If you buy 3, you can get a free copy of the official stories by investigative journalist Liam Sheff. So please take advantage of that while we have his books available. And so today is our Thanksgiving show. So we're going to talk about Thanksgiving. So, hey, Virstyne.
Hey.
Hi. What do you think about Thanksgiving?
Oh, it was awesome. I'm glad. I love the turkey song. Thank God for Adam Sandler, because I didn't know what we were gonna play. And that's a great song. It's just I think he's the only person that's done a song about Thanksgiving. But
I know, I really can't find, there isn't a lot about Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving is one of those weird holidays that's it sort of gets bypassed. If you go to the store, and there's tons of stuff for Halloween, there's tons of stuff for Christmas. They kind of just move right into Christmas. Sort of, a lot of times Thanksgiving just sort of gets shuffled under, which I don't know. I mean, there's pros and cons to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not always, the history of it. I don't know the full history of Thanksgiving, I must admit, but I do know that, it didn't work out so well for the Native Americans.
I know, right? This is an understatement, right?
I think they had, I think they got a raw deal on that. From what I understand, they were delivered a bunch of blankets with smallpox in it. So that was lovely.
That's trouble. Did you learn about that when you were a kid? I didn't know about that until I was grown. Which sucks. Huh?
I didn't learn anything about Thanksgiving, really. I didn't even know. I don't remember them saying anything.
Did you ever have the pilgrim worksheets and stuff? You ever have to put out pilgrim plays and stuff where, the pilgrims, I had to do that stuff. You, dress up as the pilgrims, and then the people that dress up as the Native Americans, and then, you know, they talk about the Mayflower coming in, and then they get off the boat, and, you know, the Pilgrims are like, I'm hungry, and the Native Americans are like, oh, let us feed you, let us help you, right? And then it just basically ends there. But I never was really taught after that. They basically just, you know, genocided the Native Americans.
Right. No,
I really had to find out myself. Sorry.
Oh, no. Yeah, I don't remember really learning anything. I mean, I remember like having, you know, Pilgrim and Indian sort of coloring books and things like that. You know, and so you were just kind of taught that the Pilgrims and the Indians, or the Pilgrims came over, and the Indians shared their food with them, and they sat down and ate. And I guess that is true. That did actually happen, or supposedly, as far as the history of the story goes, is from as much as we can gather, that actually did happen. But it didn't work out so well for the Native Americans, because then they were delivered these smallpox-ridden blankets, and then they were also pretty much exterminated after that.
That's
so
terrible.
Like, thanks for the food, now we're going to kill you.
Yeah, they go, like, here's this fish and corn, and here are these smallpox blankets, basically, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's really disturbing. I try and tell my kids that if Thanksgiving comes up, you know, that I try and put that bit in there about the Native Americans being murdered, basically.
Right.
Yeah, and that's just crazy. Like, who does that? Like, you get help from somebody and then you just turn around and kill them? That's just insane.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of what has been the history of the British imperialism. They come in and they just sort of take over and just want the land. I think that it was, for the Native Americans, they had a hard time. If you listen to, like, Chief Seattle, and he was at a different, I mean, he was on the West Coast, so he was a different part of the, than the Wampanoags, which were, the first Thanksgiving was, but on the East Coast. But, anyway, he would say that it was weird for them because they couldn't understand the way that the white man thought, because they wanted to own the land, and they were like, well, how can you, it's like trying to own air, like trying to own.
Yeah, I know.
Like, how do you own that? That just doesn't make sense. It's sort of.
Yeah, own the water. And there are people that do that, though. I mean, you know, we have to pay for water, we have to pay for electricity, we have to pay for all the stuff that's basically readily available in the environment and on our planet. But, you know, people have figured out a way to make people to quote unquote own it and to make people pay for it. You know, you think about how the utilities that we pay for, it's ridiculous. Right. Nobody really should own those things, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, if Al Gore gets his way, we'll also pay for the air we breathe, right?
Oh, my God.
I mean, they will, because will we get our carbon tax credits or whatever that crap is? I don't even know.
That's going on in Australia, though, right now, right?
Yeah, they did actually carbon tax them in Australia. So we've managed to keep that at bay here in this country. I mean, we have state sovereignty, so that every time this comes up, it goes through the states. And here in California, we've managed to vote that down every time it's come up. But, yeah, I mean, you know, it's charging a tax on the air that you breathe. My Lord. That's not, I mean, these people are insane. They're totally insane. So, you know, the white man came in and they wanted to own this land. I think what it is that it was the Puritans, right? Because the Puritans were religious outcasts from their country.
Yeah, you know, that's what makes it so crazy. It's just that, like, you know, they were being abused and terrorized, and they ran away from that, and then they come here and do the same thing.
Right.
Basically, you know? Like, it just doesn't make sense. You would think that, you know, people, if they're going through a traumatic situation, that they would understand how it feels, and they wouldn't want to put somebody else through the same thing. But it seems like, you know, but you know, it's interesting in Taiwan. I'm always talking about Taiwan, but I'm going back to Taiwan. There's the same thing that happened with the Chinese. You know, there was a sect of Chinese people that were running from, you know, I guess I would say a tyrannical government, and basically went to Formosa at the time it was called, and basically killed all the Aborigines there. And took over. You know, they were murdered just like the Native Americans, and just like, you know, it's just disheartening. I mean, then they're like, you know, during the Holocaust, the Jewish people, they go to Israel, and they treat the Palestinians like crap. It's just this cycle of
right.
of hate. You know, it's I wonder if you go through something like that, if you lose a part of your humanity or something. You know, if this is a part of your soul that's like affected, where
right. Well, it's sort of like maybe a pedophile or an abuser. You know, usually they've been abused as children.
Yeah.
And so why does the cycle repeat? Because you almost would think that that because you did go through that you wouldn't want to do that to somebody because of that.
Yeah.
Because, wow, that hurts so much. Why would I want to do that to somebody else?
Yeah.
But then yet those are the people that always do. So, but not everybody.
No, yeah, not everybody, yeah, but still.
So that's where it's possible to break the cycle. It's just that I don't understand why those are always the people the ones that have been abused that are always turn out to be the abuser. So it's strange, and but you know, I mean, I can't say that I hate everything about Thanksgiving, because yet it has kind of a checkered history, but I think being thankful and taking time out to be grateful for the things that you have in life isn't a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing to get together with your family and try and, you know, have a meal together and cook together and all that. That can be a good thing too.
It's terrible. I'm just kidding.
Right. So it's just, I mean, it's, you know, it's weird. I mean, we definitely have, I think we just need to be honest about our history with regards to the Native people and the Native Americans. And we're going to talk to Kevin Annett later on in the show and get an update from him, because we had him on about a couple months ago, and he came on and was telling us about basically the same thing. He's in Canada, and they did, the same thing goes on there, went on there. They had this residential schools where they took the Native Aboriginal people and put them in those schools. And
basically prisons, you know.
Yeah, they were schools, or yeah, exactly.
Schools,
they were prisons,
quote unquote,
concentration camps or whatever. Yeah. And I mean, they were robbed from their homes, taken away from their parents, robbed of their language, robbed of their culture, abused, sexually, physically, murdered in cases. Bones. They found bones buried under, behind where these schools were and stuff like that. And so it's been proven. They have artifacts to prove that they were murdering these kids and then burying them and hiding the evidence. So it's just awful, terrible, awful. But it's no different than what's happened in the United States. The same thing. We have the same history. And I don't know. I don't know how long that's gone on. I think it just continues to go on. And there are. I don't actually know if there are still any of those residential schools anymore in Canada or in the United States. They used to have them in the United States too. But I know, yeah.
I know, yeah.
Right. When I was looking for testimonials for the show for the last show to play clips of that, and on the last show I found some from the United States as well. And that's how I knew that, because I didn't even know that there were those types of residential schools here. But anyway, it's pretty bad, and so we wanted to talk to him and get an update on this case, this lawsuit that he's got going.
You talk about somebody that's just taking God's word and just going with it,
right?
You know, too, because they're people that say they're religious, but they're only religious when it suits them. You know,
right?
He has definitely a strong conviction in his beliefs, because he's just, he's come out, he's put his life, his family's life on the line, just to make sure that the truth is out there, or is spoken. And there are very few people that do that claim to be religious too,
Right. And I think when we talked to him on the last show, if I remember correctly, and he was a minister at one point, he was a preacher, and but he always sort of questioned the organized religion. So he went into that, but then he sort of wasn't sure if organized religion, I think he was sort of questioning that doctrine, and then decided that was, and then decided, I guess, once he started to realize that these crimes were going on against the Aboriginal people, and he was told to just shut up about it, and just go about his business and live his own life and not do anything or say anything.
Yeah.
that he was like, oh, well, this is total BS.
Yeah.
And so in his lawsuit, I mean, you see the people that he's we'll let him talk about that more, but I mean, he's just going after everybody.
Yeah.
In the Vatican, and I just, I read the list of, I was like, damn.
Like, dang, Kevin Annette, you better work. Like,
I know, I was like, you better work, boy. So he's going to come on, we kind of asked him if he could do a few minutes with us at the last minute, and he said he would. So that'll be good. We can talk and get update on that, and just kind of give, I guess, everybody an idea of what the real Thanksgiving is, what it did when the Pilgrims came over. I mean, it kind of destroyed the lives of the natives, and and then it just continued on for years, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, until at this point, I mean, I don't even know how many Native people still exist.
Oh, not many. Like, do you, I supposedly have some ancestors. Do you have any Native American ancestors?
No, not on my side. My husband does on his side. So the kids do, but I don't.
Yeah, like, but still, it's like I met maybe one full-blooded Native American in my whole life.
Right.
There's not really that many,
Yeah, no, it's I don't
and
know.
And they're beautiful people, like,
right.
Just, wow, yeah.
No, they've been pretty much eradicated because these, reservations that they get put on, which are essentially also concentration camps. I will say that, they went off and they put casinos on them. I don't know how.
Still, that's just. I'm sorry. Go on. You know how what?
I don't know how some people feel about that. Some people kind of feel that was they were sort of selling out. But I figure they had to do something. They figured out a way because on reservations they don't go. They're not under our law. They're not under the federal law, so they can do what they want.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
They just took illegal gambling. I mean, it's illegal elsewhere, but then they can do it on their reservations. So, I mean, at least I guess they figured out a way to make money. I don't know. It's unfortunate that they had to do that. It's unfortunate that but I don't know what to say. I mean, that's our history. I think we just need to own it, live it, and just know that that's what it is.
Yeah, that's it. And don't try to, I think when you deny it, that's what makes you, like, twisted and crazy.
Right. Just know that that's what Thanksgiving is. That's how.
And you don't have to agree with it, too, because I'm sure that there are white people did not agree with what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
They maybe tried to intervene in some way, but, whatever reason, they weren't able to. So I don't think all the British white people are evil, but,
Right, no doubt. I mean, I know that I'm sure that went on at the time. There's always going to be people uprising in activism and all that, just at different times. And I think initially maybe it wasn't so bad, They did start off and exchange food, and it was okay. But then it was just after that they just said, okay, thanks for your hospitality.
Yeah.
There's a saying, no good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah.
Do something nice for somebody, I mean, look out. Which I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, I don't know, man. Maybe back then it was just a whole set of different rules. I do. I believe if I do something good for somebody, I'll get it back, and vice versa if I'm a bitch to somebody. I'm gonna get that back too, some way, somehow.
Put out in the world.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're gonna take a break, and then when we get back, we're gonna talk to Kevin Annett. We're going to get an update on what's going on with his case, because last time he was on the show, he was telling us about this lawsuit from his own tribunal that he organized and put together, founded in Canada, to perpetrate crimes against humanity, to prosecute those who commit crimes against humanity. So he is going to give us an update, and hopefully we'll have a good chat with him. And yeah, so we'll be back in a minute. Stay with us.
Yes, hello. I wanted to say I love the conspiracy realist t-shirts that you can get only online at ship.truthortease.com. I knew a conspiracy with a seal. America is run by the CIA. Yes, the CIA. That's why you have to wear a conspiracy realist t-shirt all the time to let people know that you are not stupid. Go to ship.truthortease.com. Ship.truthortease.com. Ship. Like to go shipping when you buy things at the grocery store. truthortease.com.
Hi, welcome back to Truther Talk. We are talking today to Kevin Annett, who was on our show a little while ago, and he was telling us about this case that's going on from the ITCCS, the tribunal up there in Canada, and we wanted him to come back on and update us on that. You can find itccs.org. You can find out information about what's going on, and also from hiddenfromhistory.org. He's an author, filmmaker, activist. So please welcome back to the show, Kevin Annett.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. And I, at the last minute, because I just sort of Skyped you a few minutes ago and said, "Can you come on?"
Yeah,
right.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, we definitely do appreciate that. So, since we had you on when we last talked to you, you said that you were going to issue the summons, and so now the summons has been issued, and the parties have been served with their summons. And how many have responded, and if any, and what's been going on since then?
Well, the 32 people that were served, these included fairly prominent people: the Pope, Pope Benedict, Queen Elizabeth of England, the Prime Minister of Canada, and none of them responded except one person, kind of a lower-level researcher for the government's whitewash called the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And he responded. He didn't deny any of the charges that we made against him, namely that he was involved in concealing a crime against humanity. He did, however, threaten to get the police on us. He charged us with harassing him. But I wrote back and I said to him, look, if you ask the police to obstruct an investigation, that's actually a crime under the law. We have a lot of solid evidence that your office is involved in concealing these deaths of Native children all over the country. So, we just basically asked him to back off, and we haven't heard anything else from him or the police. So, I mean, that's, I think, a sign of the mentality. These people really don't want to face the music, and when their back is to the wall, they start making threats. But we're feeling really optimistic because, on the other hand, there's been a lot of people contacting us. We've started posting the first evidence online, including there's a film clip now up at our itccs.org site showing a Mohawk man describing crimes that had occurred at the oldest residential school in Canada, and there's even footage of us conducting the part of the dig at the school near the gravesites where we unearthed buttons and bits of bone and that. So that's all up on the site, and it's an example of a lot of the evidence we're going to be having up by November 1st, where we've got over 200 exhibits we're going to post just in the first case dealing with a residential school. So we're very, very busy, and there's 58 citizen jurors standing by to look at the evidence. So we're going ahead full steam.
Well, that's great. That's good news. And you had an open letter to the Aboriginal television network. I mean, and in the United States, I'm not familiar with this network. Can you tell us what that was all about?
Well, it's a network in Canada that poses as being an Aboriginal run station. In fact, it isn't really. It's very heavily funded by the federal government. And for a little while, they were covering the work we were doing, but as soon as we started doing actual digs at former residential school sites, they not only stopped covering it, but they began to put out really misrepresentative stuff about really spreading rumors about me personally, not actually even going to investigate these sites or talking to the eyewitnesses, just a lot of kind of yellow journalism. And so I simply wrote to them and I said, the things you're putting up about us are not true, and here's some of the actual footage that you've refused to broadcast. So I think it's important for Native people especially to know that there's been a really concerted effort to keep the real story on the back burner and put out a fake story, which is basically that, some bad things happened, we've had apologies and compensation, and now Native people are pretty much happy. I mean, that's the official line that's spun by the government and the churches, but, we know very different on the ground, right?
Right. Yeah, these crimes, someone should be in jail, Someone needs to go and just to expose it, because this is going to just continue to happen. It's something that's still happening, and it's happened here in our country, in the United States, to the Native people as well. And speaking of that, so just out of curiosity, what do you know about like the history of the sort of the taking over of Canada and the United States of the British imperialism and kind of the history of Thanksgiving, since we're coming up upon that holiday? Yeah, do you know anything about that, or are you familiar?
Oh yeah, well, as a matter of fact, I've done a lot of reading about that in the eastern area of the U.S. I'm not sure where you folks are based, but
we're in California, but
in California,
yeah.
California has a horrible history, of course, as you know, with the gold rush. That's when a lot of the outright extermination of the native tribes on the West Coast started in the 1840s. But what happened in California was very similar to British Columbia. Because, after about the first generation of white settlers, on average, 90% of the Aboriginal population is gone, just from outright smallpox germ warfare, and that was common right up and down the West Coast. But I was going to mention that the whole thing of Thanksgiving, don't forget, for at least almost 100 years after the first whites landed on the East Coast, the Pilgrims and others who came to settle, they were getting along. I mean, there was conflict now and then, but their relationship with the East Coast tribes like the Narragansett and the Delaware and others was fairly good. They were sharing the land. They were getting along. What we often find happened is when the missionaries arrive, you get this whole you can't intermarry with the natives. A lot of whites would often run away and live among the Indians. There was the first slaves to America were actually white people from England, who came over as indentured servants. As a matter of fact, some of your ancestors might have been them. They had to slave for 7 years, and often these people would run away and live with the Indians, like a lot of black slaves did. And so there was a long relationship of natives and whites getting along, but you find that the whole missionary attitude, saying, we have to conquer these savages, that went hand in hand with the bigger move eventually to grab all their land. So that's part of the history we're trying to document.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, I grew up in San Francisco, and we have the famous Mission Dolores there. And when we were kids, we all went and did field trips there, and they would teach us in how the place was built and how the native people were essentially used as slaves to build the mission, because they were going to sort of, Christianize them, and that was sort of going to save them from their savagery. And they would take they had clay, the tiles that the roof was built with, and they said that they would put the hot tiles on their thighs, on their legs, and that was how they shaped them. And I remember as a kid, I thought, this is horrible. This is, I mean, even then, that you were being taught this, like, I thought this is almost like a place that should be burnt down, rather than like it was going on a field trip and worshiping it. And the native people were buried underneath. They had the people that were working on the missions, but they didn't have any plots for the native people. They were all just sort of buried underneath, and there was no grave site for them. They were just scattered around wherever. And at night they would practice their own culture, and then this was put to that as well. And I think that that's something that we see a lot, is that sort of stripping them from their culture is what sort of helps to oppress them, wouldn't you say? And that's sort of what was going on, or not sort of, that is what happened at the residential schools, correct?
Oh, exactly. And as a matter of fact, the United States was a big area for Catholic Indian schools. The Jesuits set up a lot of them all over the West. As a matter of fact, I'm coming down to California in the spring to speak with a number of groups, especially around the Berkeley area where I've spoken before. But one of the groups I'm working with, they're trying to sue the Jesuits for running these Indian boarding schools right up until the 1980s. And listening to these people, their stories are exactly the same as what I've heard in Canada from hundreds of Native people. So it's the same the same crime, and it's just beginning to get, in the U.S., it's just beginning the survivors movement and the lawsuits, but it's the same process, right, that we've done.
Well, I'm just curious, have there been any people from other countries, too, that have come forward besides Canada and the U.S. and have talked about, like, their abuse and things by...
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, that's why we set up the tribunal, because we were working actively with groups in Ireland, Australia, Italy, England. There's a big group that works with us in Ireland. They've, they work with people like the survivors of the Magdalene laundries that were these Catholic laundries that they grabbed young women who, if you were a young woman right up into the 1980s, actually the last Magdalene laundry closed in 1996. If you were a young woman in Ireland and got pregnant and you weren't married, they'd take your baby. You'd never see them again. And then you were confined to these sweatshops, these laundries, where you were kept there your whole life.
Slavery.
Really, slave labor.
Yeah.
They did made a lot of money for the Catholic Church. And these women now are told that they can't sue the church or the government in Ireland. So there's been a lot of upset people there. They've had occupations of churches, a lot of protests. I was just there last month working with some of these people. And it's the same crime all over, So the Catholic Church especially has a lot to answer for, and this is one of the reasons we set up our common law court.
Yeah, and that's funny because when Virstyne and I were talking about your tribunal, we kind of...
You were like, you can do that?
How do you do that?
Yeah.
So how do you do that? Just do it?
Yeah.
Sorry, because we were just amazed. We were just like, because we've been, as far as we've been taught, we're just like, oh, well, if it's not written in the law, there's nothing you can really do. You just have to kind of accept anything that's been done to you. So we didn't know that there was like, I guess you would say just a process where you can go and you can create your own tribunal and go after people that way. We didn't know that was possible, so this is fascinating to us.
As a matter of fact, it's more possible in the U.S. than it is in Canada because you have a tradition there of where common law is enshrined and recognized by judges. So here's the case, like if your child or anyone in your community is being harmed and the police and the courts will not do anything about it, you have a right as a citizen to make a citizen's arrest and even to invoke a 12-person jury. If the court won't do that. There's a thing called the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. It came in as international law, so it's binding on the United States as well. And it says that if your government and its courts are implicated in any way in these crimes, you have an obligation not to pay taxes and, in fact, to make appeals to international courts. So this is what we're doing. The U.S., like Canada, is involved in crimes against humanity, whether it's overseas in these wars against non-aggressive nations. That's what we tried the Nazis for at Nuremberg, for waging war against a non-belligerent nation like Afghanistan. Those are all crimes against humanity. But when it comes to the government of the U.S. working with the Vatican to allow it to protect its own child rapists, which is what they do under a church canon law called Crimen Solicitanus. When the government doesn't take them on, they're colluding in a crime. And so as a U.S. citizen, you then have the right to take the matter into your own hands. That's enshrined in your Constitution. So we're trying to set the example to say to people, join up, be a citizen juror. We're going to come to a sentence about, a verdict about these churches, and then we're going to ask people to enforce it. Like in Ireland, they already are making plans to go in and make citizens' arrests on known child raping priests that are still operating. Wow. Just escort them out of the church and say you're not welcome anymore. If the Catholic Church is going to operate as a taxpayer-supported public institution, then we have the right to hold them accountable and to say that, we're not going to let child rapists operate in our community. So we all have the right to do that, and we're trying to set the example of that to kind of awaken people to their own power.
Yeah, it's beautiful. This is really exciting.
Yeah.
It is exciting. It's empowering because Virstyne and I we like to think that we're pretty awake, and we didn't know that we could do that. Yeah. And so that's where it's taking it to another level to where we can actually know that we do have the power. I mean, they keep in our country, and probably this is happening on some level in Canada as well. These laws are just oppressing people more and more and more, like the National Defense Act. We were just talking about that, and these things where they're just going to come in and take your food and they don't have to or
seize your property
but they don't really have the right to do that. We actually have laws that protect us against it. So that's really just an illegal. They can't.
Yeah, they are. This is leading into a much bigger question, is that it's not just about the genocide against Native people or children. It's aimed at all of us now. Mm-hmm. And there's a group in the U.S. called Oath Keepers.
Yes, we just interviewed.
You know about them, eh? Okay, good.
Yeah, we just interviewed Stuart Rhodes like a couple days.
Good.
Yeah.
Well,
sorry.
Sheriffs in the U.S. are meeting and saying the same thing. We're not going to enforce a law that strips people of their constitutional rights. And enough people do that, and the government has to back off, right?
Yeah, right, because they need them, or for enough military. We're also looking into this. There's another group that is formed of people in active duty who are refusing to go to Afghanistan, who are refusing to go and commit these crimes against humanity. And so hopefully this will grow.
It is growing. I can tell you, I do a lot of traveling. I was just away in Europe again and back on the east coast of the U.S. Everywhere I go, there's people waking up. And they're linking up all over, kind of a real grassroots movement. You can't see it if you watch the mainstream media and all that, but it's all over our communities. So it's really encouraging.
Yeah, it is encouraging. And so, once again, how can people who are listening get updates on what's going on with your tribunal? And can you tell us where to go and how often you'll be updating us?
Yeah, I'll. If you send me your emails, you can get the postings directly. And in fact, I'll talk to you about my trip to California. Maybe we can arrange something in your area. But people can go to my website, itccs.org, and a lot of the evidence is posted about the genocide at the residential schools at hiddennolonger.com. Please write to me as well at hiddenfromhistory1@gmail.com. And like I say, this on November 1st, a lot of our evidence is going up online at itccs.org and also on YouTube. So, that maybe I'll come on, during that week in November and give you more of an update and description of some of that stuff.
Okay, great. Yeah, we'd like to hear that. So, thanks again, Kevin. And we appreciate you being on the show. And Virstyne and I are going to take a short break, and when we get back, we will close it out. But we want to thank Kevin Annett for coming on short notice and giving us an update. So thanks, Kevin.
Well, thanks to both of you. It's really great to hear from you again. I'll talk.
Yeah. Thanks again.
Yes, lovely. We'll talk to you soon. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. All right.
Most of us associate the holiday with happy pilgrims and Indians sitting down to a big feast. And that did happen. Once. The story began in 1614 when a band of English explorers sailed home to England with a ship full of Patuxet Indians bound for slavery. They left behind smallpox, which virtually wiped out those who escaped. By the time the Pilgrims arrived in Massachusetts Bay, they found only one living Patuxet Indian, a man named Squanto, who had survived slavery in England and knew their language. He taught them to grow corn and to fish, and negotiated a peace treaty between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag Nation. At the end of the first year, the Pilgrims held a great feast honoring Squanto and the Wampanoags. But as the word spread in England about the paradise to be found in the New World, religious zealots called the Puritans began arriving by the boatload. Finding no fences around the land, they considered it to be public domain. Joined by other British settlers, they seized land, capturing strong young natives for slaves and killing the rest. But the Pequot Nation had not agreed to the peace treaty Squanto had negotiated, and they fought back. The Pequot War was one of the bloodiest Indian wars ever fought. In 1637, near present day, Groton, Connecticut, over 700 men, women, and children of the Pequot tribe had gathered for their annual Green Corn Festival, which is our Thanksgiving celebration. In the pre-dawn hours, the sleeping Indians were surrounded by the English and Dutch mercenaries, who ordered them to come outside. Those who came out were shot or clubbed to death, while terrified women and children who huddled inside the longhouse were burned alive. The next day, the governor of the Massachusetts Bay Colony declared a day of Thanksgiving because 700 unarmed men, women, and children had been murdered. Cheered by their victory, the brave colonists and their Indian allies attacked village after village. Women and children over 14 were sold into slavery, while the rest were murdered. boats loaded with as many as 500 slaves regularly left the ports of New England. Bounties were paid for Indian scalps to encourage as many deaths as possible. Following an especially successful raid against the quote, in what is now Stamford, Connecticut, the churches announced a second day of Thanksgiving to celebrate a victory over the heathen savages. During the feasting, the hacked-off heads of the natives were kicked through the streets like soccer balls. Even the friendly Wampanoag did not escape the madness. Their chief was beheaded and his head impaled on a pole in Plymouth, Massachusetts, where it remained on display for 24 years. The killings became more and more frenzied, with days of Thanksgiving feasts being held after each successful massacre. George Washington finally suggested that only one day of Thanksgiving per year be set aside of celebrating each and every massacre. Later, Abraham Lincoln decreed Thanksgiving Day to be a national legal holiday during the Civil War. On the same day, he ordered troops to march against the starving Sioux in Minnesota. The story doesn't have quite the same fuzzy feeling associated with it as the one where the Indians and Pilgrims are all sitting down together at a big feast. But we need to learn our true history so it won't ever be repeated. This Thanksgiving, when you gather with your loved ones to thank your Creator for all your blessings, think about the people who only wanted to live their lives and raise their families. They also took time out to say thank you for all their blessings.
Hi, welcome back to Truther Talk.
Hey guys.
Hey. So we were just talking to Kevin Annett. He was giving us an update about his case and everything that's going on with that court, the tribunal. I like talking to Kevin. He's an interesting guy, and he was talking about these things that we've talked about on the show before with the NDAA and all that, and how now these sort of prosecutions against humanity, these crimes against humanity that have been against the native people, but now it's just targeting all of us, really. You know, the new world order.
Yeah. Was that your Henry Kissinger impression?
I guess. I don't know. Whatever. I suppose that was.
Oh my God! I got it. I got who you were.
Okay. I just kind of said it, but I suppose that's the new world order. You know, these. But anyway, he's interesting to talk to. So we just wanted to kind of do a little bit about, as much as we can, because we're not history buffs, but we have wanted to talk a little bit about the history of Thanksgiving, the treatment of the native people and all that, just so we know, just so we know. Not because we want everybody to go out there and not celebrate Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so, just eat. Talk about it while you're eating.
Yeah. I mean, be thankful for your family. You can make whatever you want of it. Yeah. You can, and
I'm not trying to guilt trip anybody here. We're just
no.
Just trying to get people to become knowledgeable, share some knowledge, go and look up some stuff for yourself.
Yeah.
If you want to get more informed about the situation.
Right. And just know what's going on, and know that this is still kind of going on. That's why we wanted to talk to Kevin, because it's still going on, and we wanted him to update us on his case. And if we don't acknowledge that it happened, how can we do anything about the fact that it's still happening?
Yeah, exactly. It's still happening. It's so funny. You think, I hear black people talk about slavery and stuff. Well, slavery is still going on.
Yeah.
And people talk about Holocaust. Holocaust is still going on to this day. So it's not like that was something that was back in the old days and, that was back in the old days and we were savages. No, it's still going on.
Yeah.
So,
and if we're not careful, we could be the targets of it too.
Yeah, totally. I mean, think about what's going on with in this country. We were talking earlier about the Native Americans being on reservations and stuff, but you do research on the FEMA camps, and and that could be us,
right?
Pretty much, which is pretty scary,
Saw that happen in the Katrina thing, and that's where we talked a little bit about that with Stuart Rhodes, and we talked to him a few weeks ago, and. So it's happened before, and it happened during World War II, and they took the American Japanese and put them in position.
Yeah, Americans too. I think that's important too, because I think there was a movie a I think it was called Snow Falling on Cedars. I remember my friend who was from Japan was very upset that they chose a Japanese person from Japan to play the main girl. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about it, and she was like, you know what, it's cool, like, she was a good actress, she didn't have anything against her as a person, but she just wanted to, she still think it gave the impression that, that they did that to Japanese people and not American people. I mean, they shouldn't have done it to anybody, but I think it's a real important thing for people to realize that these are Americans that they did this to.
Right.
That happened to be of Japanese descent, but they were Americans. Mm-hmm. You know, so,
right. Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. It's just, you know.
I think there was some sort of persecution against Germans, but not to that degree. But I don't remember exactly. We had, when I was in middle school, I had this history teacher, I think it was in the 7th grade, and she brought public speakers. She would bring people to our classroom, and one time she brought a guy from a Japanese internment camp.
Oh, what?
Yeah,
That's really cool.
Yeah, he had been in one of these Japanese internment camps, and he talked about it and stuff. He's a real cool, chill guy, and I don't think his experience was very as traumatic as it might have been for some, but they kind of, because we sort of asked if he had been abused in any way and how this kind of, and I think it was more frightening. He was a kid. He was a little boy at the time, and so I think he was more afraid initially, and then once they got there, he said, you know, it was just sort of like we were just kind of locked away in prison. We didn't really get much to do. It was kind of, but his family was there, and
they got to shop. Did you hear about that? Like I saw,
no.
I saw it. What do you call it? Like a documentary on it a while ago, and they were talking about as soon as they got there, they gave them Sears catalogs. So they worked. They worked actually. It's basically kind of like slaves.
Yeah.
You know, they were doing work while they weren't just sitting around. They put them to work, and then if they wanted to buy stuff, they could buy stuff.
Right. Well, I don't think he had to work because he was just a kid.
He was a kid, yeah.
They just kind of let him. I think he went to. They had schools and stuff like that too. But he said that, and then they asked the men to enlist in the army. So.
Oh, that is what?
Oh yeah, you didn't know that?
Yeah, they had to, yeah, because they're Japanese that fought on the American side in World War II. That's just crazy, though. Your family, but it's just like they asked them to enlist. Did they really have a choice?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you said no, you would, of course, probably be arrested and killed because then they would be a traitor.
So, but that's the thing. You don't really have a choice. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
You made a list and.
I would be curious to know if anyone actually did refuse to enlist, but I don't think anyone did. I think, or not that I'm aware of, and they were the most decorated troops that during the entire war. They did some of the most dangerous. They were, of course, sent to do most of the dangerous stuff. But, yeah, they had been awarded. They fought really hard. They didn't sort of half-ass it or phone it in because they were being forced to basically do it. They still fought for their country, which I don't know. It's kind of
and then what sucks though. A lot of those people came back, and their farmland, their homes were just taken away or seized.
Ugh. Yeah.
So like imagine that. That is crazy. Your family is imprisoned just because of how they look, basically.
Right.
Then you go to war, risk your life.
Right.
And then come back and you have no place to live. It's just fucking unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So,
it is unbelievable. But I mean, this is that I think
I believe it, but it's just
Well, I think it's important to do the shows on this stuff and to talk about history because it could happen again, and it happens. It's still happening, and just because we're not victims of it at the moment in broad daylight doesn't mean that we're not enslaved in other ways, and it doesn't mean that we have all of our freedoms. We could lose them at any moment because that's the kind of people we have in government, and
Obama. Did you? I just want to make reference to this. I saw an interview with the guy who, a Japanese internment camp survivor, I guess you would say.
Uh-huh.
And he was talking about the census and how he feels the census played a huge role in them being able to round up Japanese Americans and put them in internment camps. Yeah, because it's true. Like that's how they kind of take, kind of roll call or count of the races, the people, like everything,
Yes.
So, and he said he truly believed if it wasn't for the census that they wouldn't have been able to do what they did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when did the census happen? What was it, last year?
Yeah, it was just recently. I don't think anyone came to the door. I don't remember. But if they did, I shooed them away because I don't remember. But I did get something in the mail. I just shredded it. I'm not going to write on a census. Get out of here.
Oh, you're so bad. I love it.
Yeah, well, no, get out of here. I'm not going to fill out the census. Go away. The other day asked me came to the door and said, do you have a minute to talk about your voting habits? And I was like, ugh, no.
Yeah, I did that too. I was like, no.
I was like, I have less than a minute. Go away.
I was like, I have to make a sandwich. I'm done. Like, don't even.
I'm not going to tell you. I mean, even if I were a big on voting, which I'm not, but if I were, then I wouldn't want to tell you.
Yeah, that's just
get out of here.
So it makes you wonder why they're collecting all this information. Really, for what?
Right. Use it against you later. Gross.
Yeah, I don't trust the government. I don't.
No.
I trust people.
Right.
People. I do. I trust people, but as far as and then the people that are working for the government, I don't think they really realize what they're doing. So I'm not I don't take it out on them. But
sure.
As far as why are they collecting all this information? That's pretty personal,
Yeah, it's just right. You just got to realize. I mean, they might say it's for the greater good or whatever, but that they're using it. It's going to help them. I don't know what it's going to help them do, but. It's just creepy. They're jeepers creepers. Remember when someone was talking, they were saying about the Border Patrol, and they were saying about the fence that should go around the bottom of, we should build this fence around Mexico. And I remember Ron Paul said, well, they could use that fence just as easily to keep us
in. Yeah.
And I was like, damn, Ron, because that sounds a little on the conspiratorial side, brother. But he,
no, but it's true.
But he's right, though. It could be used to keep us in.
Because maybe it was that movie. I think it was like Independence Day or something. It was like some kind of big blockbuster movie, and they made a joke about how Mexicans sneak into some disaster happened. I forgot what movie it was, but actually the Americans were trying to get into Mexico as a result of something that was going on here. Instead of the Mexicans trying to come to America.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, yeah, you're right. It could be just as easily used to keep us in.
Right, or he was right when he
said
it. Right. I hadn't even thought of that. But
and we're the ones building it. We're building our own prisons. But I think. They did that to the Jews in Germany, too. They had them build their own prisons. The Germans didn't do it. They built it themselves. And I guess I don't know what they told them, the reasons they told them why they were doing what they were doing, but, But I'm really hoping, people like Stuart Rhodes and, maybe even us at a certain point, we can get through to people. We can start waking people up so we are in charge of, our own fate instead of leaving it up to the government or, people to decide what's right for us. It should be us, ourselves, doing that.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
yeah, I think on that note, we're going to take a little bit of a break, and when we get back, we're going to switch gears a little bit and start talking about Thanksgiving food. And talking about family and things that we're thankful for and everything like that. So, because we've been talking about American history or about the Native American history, and we talked to Kevin Annett and all this stuff about the poor treatment of Native Americans. So we want to switch gears and talk about other things that come about as a result of Thanksgiving. So we'll take a short break.
All right.
And when we get back, you will still be listening because we'll be talking about cool stuff. So stay tuned.
Everything I'm looking at seems crazy. The newspapers, television, nothing's right. Nothing's telling me what's true. It's like I fell into a bucket of cream and kicked my legs until I became a mouse. What's that about? I'm a conspiracy realist, not a conspiracy theorist. I want a t-shirt that represents me. What? There's one that's available? Go to shop.truthoftease.com, says the voice in my head. Shop.truthoftease.com. It's not crazy. I'm not afraid to go on the internet and go to shop.truthoftease.com. I'm not scared. I taken out bowling balls that look like you. That's what I said. Straighten out. Get your Conspiracy Realist t-shirt. I'd like to come over there. You look good. You look good.
Oh, and hello. We're back. All right. So, Thanksgiving is a time for being thankful and grateful for the things that we have, the people we've met. April, what are you thankful for?
I am thankful for the fact that, we still have a roof over our head and we have clothes and we have access to food and clean. And I'm thankful that because, we are in a recession. We are at a time where a lot of people are out of work and a lot of people are struggling. And, we're struggling financially too, but, we still have a place to live. We still have a home. We still have each other as our family. So I'm thankful for definitely, my husband for working so hard and taking care of us and doing everything that he's done to sacrifice to take care of his family and to be a stand-up guy. And I'm thankful for, the kids because they're just so cute and cuddly and, and just so cute and sweet and everything like that. And I'm thankful, as most everybody knows, my son Aiden has autism and we've been struggling for a long, long time. And, his progress has been really, really slow, but I'm thankful for the progress that he's made over the years and the things that he has gotten better at and has improved upon and stuff. It's interesting because we had recently a bunch of new people come in for the after-school program, the in-home stuff, and they came in and they evaluated him and they were kind of like, okay, we're going to start at the very bottom and we're going to do the simplest, easiest things and all this kind of stuff because they didn't really know what he was capable of. And since they started working with him and they're like, well, wow, he's pretty for someone who appears to be low functioning. He sure can do a lot, because he's really capable in a lot of ways. He's I don't know, just he kind of little handy kid around the house,
Yeah.
He can throw away.
He can walk. I met somebody the other not too long ago who's he can walk,
Yeah, and it certainly could be worse. But as far as for his condition, he's severe in that his lack of communication, and in some ways he hasn't progressed much since the beginning, or he has even regressed in some ways. But he's also I don't know, he's just cute. He's over the years I've just never really. I know people who, when they have autistic kids and they sacrifice their lives a lot. They don't like to go places. They stay home all the time. They're really stressed out about the whole situation. And I've always kind of just done everything I want that with our family. We're not people that go out a lot or do things a lot, but I've always whatever it is, the park or the store, I just bring him with me. I don't care, And partly because I didn't have a choice, but also sometimes just because I want to, just because I want to teach him how to do it, and just learns how to do it. And so he's pretty capable in a lot of ways. He hangs out with me. He doesn't run away from me like a lot of autistic kids do. He doesn't run in the street. He doesn't, and he has an understanding of me. And he's with me. He loves me. He likes to be with people. I think.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Because there are a lot of autistic kids that would prefer objects over people, and he's that. I think that's something to be grateful for, that he actually likes people. So I'm grateful for his progress, and I hope that it will continue. We worked really hard, and so hopefully, we'll see some changes in next year, 2013. We can really see some. I can look back and say we've had a lot of positive growth for this year. 2012, was a good positive growth year. So, but I like to get with the family. How about you? What are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for you. You're a really good co-host. You are. I'm thankful that we were able to put this show up like that. I mean, like that. We just kind of set out to do it, and we did it. And with very few resources, but we were able to find a way. And our audience is growing. I'm thankful for our listeners. You guys are awesome. I'm thankful for the support that we have. I'm thankful for my family and my immediate family. My mother, who's great, who's very supportive. My father, my brother, my family my friends who I've adopted as family. I have really, really great, smart, caring, interesting friends that I just love. I love my friends a lot. Friendship's very, very important to me. Friends, I've had friends that I've known since I was a child, and I'm still in contact with them, to this day. I'm very thankful for that. I'm very thankful for my health. Even though, I would like to make progress with my health, more progress with, asthma and things like that. I'm not as sick as I used to be, so I'm very, very thankful about that. I'm very thankful for that I could be worse. Yeah, I mean.
Right, I guess we do have a lot to be thankful for. I mean, we talk a lot about the things that are going on and how kind of a lot of stuff is really messed up, but at the same time, there's a lot of love, and I'm thankful that people are waking up. How's that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Even when I got back, there were some people that talked to me about stuff. I would never imagine in a million years that these people would even, bring up, So I'm thankful, people are waking up. I'm thankful that we still have some freedom of speech here.
Right.
You know what I'm really thankful for? I'm thankful for the Internet.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Well, because I'm just thinking that it's just allowed me to reconnect or connect with people, either reconnect with people that I haven't that I've lost touch with and I haven't seen in years, that I'm really grateful to be reconnected to, or just meet people and form friendships that I never thought I would, that I wouldn't have been able to do without the Internet. We're doing our show on the Internet. As a result of the Internet, we're able to do our show. I'm able to teach and to, have students over the Internet. I'm able to do language exchanges and make and learn a lot of things. Through YouTube and through just blogs and things like that. I'm able to teach myself and to be self-educated through the Internet. So yeah, it's really, really amazing.
Yeah, it is. You're right. That's true, and it's funny because the Internet. I think most people today would attribute the Internet to a large part of their awakening to the New World Order. And to the things that are going on, because it's all out there, and everybody, all the truthers like ourselves, are out and about, running around on the Internet. It's how you connect with people and how you find out what's going on. And so, what do you guys eat for Thanksgiving dinner? What do you eat for Thanksgiving dinner?
I don't know what I'm going to eat this year. Really, my mom's side usually does the Thanksgiving cooking, and she's from the South, so they have a lot of really delicious food, but a really, really unhealthy. But it's good, basically everything's cooked in butter, salt, and sugar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but, they cook mac and cheese, dressing, potato salad, turkey, what do you call it, greens. They cook chitlins sometimes. Cornbread, cranberry sauce, and then there's usually a cake, cobbler, ice cream. I mean, now my mouth is watering thinking about this stuff.
I know.
Yeah, but you know me, I'm really trying to stick to this kind of I'm a vegetarian first of all, so I wouldn't be eating the turkey. But I'm trying to stick to, I don't know if this is going to happen anytime before Thanksgiving, but I'm trying to really go raw for a couple months and see. And I've only been able to do it for a few weeks at a time. I really, I don't know, maybe I'll have to do that after Thanksgiving. I have to do some maybe mashed potatoes or potato salad or something. And then after that, maybe I can embark on on that. But what I do now, if I'm doing the cooking, I use things like maybe earth balance, and I might substitute milk with like almond milk, because I'm really like not terribly allergic, but I'm allergic to dairy. I shouldn't really have dairy. Love it.
Yeah.
So it's good. Maybe you can substitute your stuff for with non-dairy.
Yeah.
So you can cut down on the salt. Maybe use make sure maybe it's like you can use like pink Himalayan salt.
Yeah.
Regular salt. Stevia. Maybe other alternative. I've heard. I was using agave nectar for a while, but now I've been turned on to the fact that they process agave nectar in much the same way they do high fructose corn syrup. So basically, now it's like high fructose corn syrup agave.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, there's lots of things you can do. You don't have to. I think that when the Pilgrims and the natives were gorging out and they were eating all their food for Thanksgiving, they were having this big feast, it's because they didn't have refrigeration. You guys have to remember, they didn't have any way to store their food. So everybody ate, gluttony. They just ate and ate and ate and ate because, you needed to fatten up, and your food wasn't going to last through, or not all of it was going to last through the winter.
Well, plus there's a lot of those mumbo jumbos. There were a lot of them, so it went pretty fast too. I'm sure, like 20 or more. Like a group of people. So it wasn't like they didn't probably have leftovers. One thing we would have. I remember when I was young. I remember it would be so good. We would make my mom. If there was leftovers, we'd make turkey sandwiches off the leftover turkey. Did you ever do that? Some turkey.
Oh, of course, yeah.
My God, it was so good.
Yeah, I love leftover turkey, and I think turkey is. I mean, I know you're a vegetarian. I was a vegetarian for many years, and
I still like it. Just to clarify, I like meat. I just don't eat it. Go on.
Right. I was a vegetarian for many years, and I went to many Thanksgiving dinners where I was a vegetarian, and I wasn't a vegan because I would eat the stuffing, but not the turkey. So I was a very unhealthy vegetarian. I wouldn't go back to that type of eating again because I was pretty clueless. I just didn't want to eat meat, but I was pretty clueless about how to eat healthy. And in retrospect, I mean,
I did that for a while too. I was eating like pizza and French fries every day, and I'm like, look at me, I'm a vegetarian. I'm healthier than you guys, and I was probably eating worse than most meat eaters,
Oh yeah, I mean it was terrible. I think I was always an animal lover, and I thought that it was good to do it that way. But I mean animals eat each other, and animals will kill you if they have the chance.
Is that what you'd say to make yourself feel better, April?
No, it's just a fact. It's just a fact. That's what animals do. It's like these mountain lions here in the Los Angeles hills. For a while, were just mauling hikers and killing them and eating them. And then recently there was a guy who was killed by a shark in the ocean. So don't act like they care about us. They don't. If anything, we care more about them. There's more evidence that humans actually have sympathy for animals more than animals have sympathy for us. So whatever. But I
was playing the guilt. I was playing the guilt trip vegetarian. Like,
no, I know what you're doing. But
I feel like I tell people I'm a vegetarian, and they get defensive because they've encountered vegetarians that make them feel guilty. And I'm like, cool. Like, I'm not like trying to tell people how to eat. I'm saying this is what's right for me.
Yeah. No. I mean, for health reasons. I mean, I don't. I was more explaining myself because I was how naive I was at that time because I was sort of thinking that I was helping animals by not eating them. But in retrospect, I wasn't. I was eating very unhealthy, and I wasn't really thinking it through that animals actually eat each other, and they actually, and that. I wasn't really thinking it through all the way. I mean, and to say that I'm not in favor of factory farming, I think that's terrible.
Oh, yeah, me too. Oh, yeah, and I'm saying too, if you want to eat meat, just make sure your meat's clean because there's just there are a lot of there's a lot of antibiotics and chemicals and stuff that's pumped into animals. So You want to make sure if you're going to eat steak, turkey, whatever, chicken, that you're not fish, you're not eating stuff that has chemicals and like hormones in it, because you're going to be eating that too, and that's not good for you. You know, plus the meat that doesn't have that stuff, it tastes so much better.
Mm-hmm. It's true, and if the corn that they're fed is mostly GMO, because although it's not approved for humans to eat, you know, like corn on the, I think actually it is now. I think that was the first thing that you can actually buy. You can't yet, but but that will become available. Produce corn over in the produce section, GMO corn. But but it's not. It is approved to feed to animals, so the animals eat it, but then you're still getting it.
Yeah, because you're eating that. Look, that's crazy.
Right. So you got to be. So organic is the way to go, and turkeys and chickens have arsenic in them unless they're organic. Yeah. So you got to get the arsenic free.
Oh, you said I'm like, I'm like arsenic. What? How do they have arsenic in them?
They put it in the chickens, I guess.
As to kill something in them.
Yeah, just to kill that.
Mm-hmm. Does it make them like get plumper? Like
no. Arsenic is an antibacterial. It'll.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they breathe them in such large capacity that they're just kind of stuffed in these cages, and they rub against each other. They can't really move, so they get blisters and sores on them.
Right.
Then they get infected, so they have to give them antibiotics to keep them. It's just gross.
Yeah, it's gross.
People, I'm not trying to turn you off from eating meat. Just eat clean. That's all I say. You know.
Right. Just eat clean, no matter what you eat, and that goes for vegetables too. So it's just important to eat a nice, clean, healthy diet, and you can do it. And I actually I've been doing this for many, many years because we've had dietary restrictions because of my son Aiden. So he's been off of gluten and dairy and soy, and we limit the amount of sugar. He at one time was completely sugar-free but could have honey, but now we've he's allowed to have some sugar. He was actually entirely grain-free at one point, so he had no rice and no any of that. So we brought back some brown rice and some sugar, just because of the gut healing that we've been doing. And I find that he works better on a little bit of grain, because otherwise he eats too much meat. He doesn't eat enough vegetables in the middle, so he needs a little bit more. He was like, before he was high on meat, high on protein, low on carbohydrates. So anyway, to balance his diet, we've added back some rice, and we've added back. He gets a little bit of sugar, so I make almost everything from scratch. I do gluten-free, vegan, pumpkin muffins and pie, and I'll do a turkey, an organic free-range turkey, and we usually order them in advance, and we get our turkey, and then I'll make stuffing with gluten-free. I'll make a gluten-free stuffing, and I make my own turkey broth to make.
Oh my God! I'm coming to your house.
I make
dinner.
I make lemon turkey. I take the
lemon turkey.
No, I don't put lemon in it. I could though. I mean, that's something. But
You said I missed what you said. You said some kind of turkey. And
I make the turkey broth so that it's my own gravy, and then I make the herbs, and we grow, because you saw in my apartment we have the little herb garden out on the balcony. So I got those last year to put in my turkey, and so they've survived, and so I'm going to use those. So I got fresh herbs on the turkey, and
awesome.
Yeah, so it's a pretty healthy dinner, though. I mean, it's not, it's not fat-free, and it's not totally sugar-free, but it's actually really healthy. It's dairy-free, it's soy-free, it's gluten-free, and we use everything pretty much pure organic ingredients. And because Aiden's also allergic to eggs, I pretty much bake everything vegan.
So do you also do a lot of flax seeds? Because flax seeds are a good binder, for a good egg replacer. Flax seeds, yeah.
Oh, I love flax for egg replacer. It's great. And it's also beneficial in that way that eggs have their own nutritional benefit, but flax does too, and it has a lot of high in omegas. And it's high in fiber, so it keeps you, cleaned in your gut. So anyway, so my stuff comes out pretty healthy.
And good. It sounds tasty too.
Oh,
pretty tasty.
Oh my God! I made these pineapple muffins the other day, and
What?
they were off the chain. They were so good. They were off the chain, dude. They were so moist and yummy.
I want pineapple muffins. Oh, you know what? You made those. You also made those gluten-free chocolate muffins. They were good. And my girlfriend's when I had my coming back party, you made those. And my girlfriend's kids who aren't, they're not into health food whatsoever, but they tore those up.
Yeah,
they were so good.
But these
really
were
good.
better. I thought these
Really?
were, yeah.
Is it sweeter?
Well, a little. I wouldn't say sweeter, because actually, because that recipe for the chocolate muffins wasn't mine, but what I usually do is I find recipes and then I modify it.
Yeah.
Because I have to, just because of dietary things, and sometimes I just do it because it's all I have in the house,
Yeah.
I just go with what I have, and so I just kind of, and I'm very instinctual, like I don't measure how much flax. And
Intuitive cook. Yeah.
I'm very intuitive,
Yeah.
and so I just throw that in there. So anyway, so whatever I did, and I wish I kind of did write it down because those were the best muffins ever. And then on the same day, I made an apple cinnamon bread. And I just decided to make the apple cinnamon bread because we had some apples that were looking like they were going to turn, so I just cut them up and threw that in there. So that was very like fall, like apple cinnamon-y.
Yeah.
Really good.
And cinnamon, when you add cinnamon to apples, it brings out the sweetness.
Oh, it was so good. And you can actually lower the level of sugar. I find that if you do your own baking, you can use less, and it still tastes just as good because I don't know. I guess store-bought, they tend to use a lot because it preserves longer. But if you use less at home, and then just, I would make this for the kids and send them to school with these little nice individually wrapped apple cinnamon bread. It was really good.
Oh my God, my mouth is watering.
It smells great too, and that's the other thing. It's like aroma. It's aromatic, and then cinnamon also reduces the effects of sugar. So cinnamon, people with diabetes and such will actually take cinnamon supplements because it can help you convert sugar into glucose. Is that what that does? I think something like that.
I just know that just from cooking experience, when I've used cinnamon, I don't have to, because I like to dehydrate apples. Like I cut them up into little discs, and then I just put cinnamon on it, like sprinkle cinnamon over, and it just seems like it lessens or makes them sweeter without me having to add sugar to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just I don't know, you put all these flavors together and it just sort of like they just pop at you. And so it was nice, and so I think it's not that hard to have a healthy Thanksgiving dinner if you really just want to do it. I mean, it's hard when you going to everybody's house and the family and
well, you can bring your own food because that's what I have to do sometimes too.
Yeah.
When I go to certain things, and you just kind of gotta have to stay strong in your conviction because my family thinks I'm a lunatic because I'm a vegetarian. They're just like, they still think I eat seafood. They think eating seafood. I'm like, no, I don't eat meat. They're like, but you don't eat crabs? I'm like, no. I'm like that.
Did you ever see my Big Fat Greek Wedding?
No. Oh, I did a long time ago. I don't remember it though.
Yeah,
refresh my memory.
So the girl is the Greek one, and the guy she's marrying is the white boy, and he's just like he's a vegetarian, and he's at the family's house, and it was like her mother and her aunts and things. They're going, they couldn't understand the concept of his being a vegetarian. They're like, what do you mean you eat no meat? Yeah.
My family, they're just like,
but you eat lamb. But you eat, it was like,
they're like, you don't eat lamb? Yeah.
But no, they were like, but you eat lamb, yes? And he's like, no, nothing with a face, nothing in it. And they were just like, what? No meat. He eats no meat. Like they couldn't, their heads just couldn't wrap around it. It was really cute.
No, totally. That's how it is, I think, in my family. They're just like, they don't understand, They're like, oh, I made this bacon. I'm like, I don't eat bacon.
Right.
I love it, but I don't eat it.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I know, and it's interesting how few people pay attention to like the ingredients of the food that they're eating. And I probably was that way for many, many years, so I'm not judging anybody for doing that, but I start to get that concept because I have to be so careful. I buy almost nothing processed ever because
they use egg whites. Even I was just looking at, I like these veggie sausages from Italian sausages from Trader Joe's. They're so good, but they use egg whites in them. Morningstar stuff, I think they use egg whites too.
Right. And a lot of soy, and that's the other thing, because we're also organic, non-GMO. So, and Aiden's allergic to soy. His nutritionist says that sometimes it's okay to have soy lecithin. She goes, it's not a deal breaker because it's refined. I don't exactly understand. But she says it's refined, so it presents differently in the body. So she said if that's the only thing that's in there that's, soy, then that you can let that go. But otherwise, he can't have anything with soy protein or can't have with soy oil or anything like that. But most of that stuff is GMO too, so you have to. So even if it has soy lecithin in it, I can't buy it unless it's organic or it says non-GMO on it because otherwise it is most likely. And so that's very few things that are processed like butter, the fake butter, like Earth Balance and stuff like that. I get that soy-free stuff.
Well, Earth Balance is soy-free, right? Or it's not soy-free?
They do have one soy-free brand, or one soy-free that's on the market, but I think most of theirs have soy in them.
I love Earth Balance.
But they're organic too, so I mean, if you're not soy-free, if you don't have a problem with soy, you could probably eat that because it's organic. And then they also have like a mayo, and so I'll make those kinds of things. So there's just a handful of things that I buy processed, but otherwise. I make everything from scratch, and because even baked goods, you get the gluten-free stuff. It's usually has a lot of sugar. It usually has eggs in it. A lot of times, it's not dairy-free, and so I'm like, ugh. So I make it, and my stuff is so good, and it has a far less amount of sugar. It's probably far healthier. So whatever. I got you good.
It sounds like you need to open up your own bakery.
I know. That's what my husband's always saying. He's like, you need to just start this online and just sell these. People would spend so much money because you have gluten-free, organic, vegan baked goods, and they taste good.
And they taste good, yeah.
Yeah, and soy-free too. Don't forget that. So I have.
Oh, what?
So it's no soy, no gluten, and vegan. Baked goods, and they taste good.
I think you just did a commercial.
I know, right? People are going to be calling me up like, yeah, you should do that. So, and I use different types of variety of flours because I also, to avoid allergens, this is one thing that Aiden's nutritionist taught me, is that you can rotate foods, and that way, even though they might have similar properties, they're going to be, the cells are different, and then, so it's going to present differently in your body, and it won't be an allergen. For instance, I make his pancakes. I always put squash in his pancakes. So, but I rotate the type of squash. I use pumpkin, I use butternut, or I use
you use zucchini?
Sweet. I haven't used zucchini, but that's a good idea. I have
zucchini.
Or I use sweet potato, and I rotate those, and I have. And I rotate the types of grains that I use. So you can use buckwheat, that's gluten-free. And I go with some bean flours like garbanzo. If you get like a Bob's Red Mill all-purpose gluten-free, then that's got garbanzo, potato, and
garbanzo's good, yeah.
So, but it's got no soy in it. And then brown rice flour, I use that a lot. So I rotate them, and I make my own all-purpose flour sometimes. I'll take a brown rice and you ought to add potato starch and baking powder. And you got to get the non-GMO baking powder too, because then corn is another thing. We don't eat a lot of corn. I mean, Aiden isn't, as far as we know, he's not allergic to corn.
Mm-hmm.
But
no, GMO. A lot of corn is GMO.
Exactly. It's almost all GMO. So you got to find that. And there's one baking powder I forget what it's called, but anyway, there's one that is non-GMO, and it's, so, you gotta look for that stuff, because I almost bought some baking powder the other day at Trader Joe's because it said it was aluminum-free, but it did not claim GMO-free, so I said...
Oh, aluminum-free? Wait, why would aluminum be in flour in the first place, damn? Oh my God.
I forgot to mention that part. Baking powder has aluminum in it. There was an urban legend that baking soda had aluminum in it, but it does not, because baking soda actually is sodium bicarbonate, and if you add aluminum, you change the chemical compound of it. It's a different chemical. They can no longer call it sodium bicarbonate. So baking soda is fine. Baking powder, on the other hand, you have to get aluminum-free. It's also made with cornstarch, so you have to make sure that corn is non-GMO. So those are some baking tips for anybody who's listening. You can yeah.
It's like baking powder with aluminum added. Like, what the hell? I didn't even know that. I mean, I don't use baking powder, but thanks, April. Like, now I'm not going to be using baking powder. Like, what the heck?
Don't use baking powder unless you can. There is a brand, and I'm sorry, they have it at Sprouts. They probably have it at other health food stores. But
do they like add aluminum to it? Do you know if they add aluminum to it, or aluminum just might happen to get sprinkled in it as a result of how it's processed?
I don't know how they put it in there. I think they put it in there as part of the processing. I don't know why.
A pinch of salt, a dash of aluminum. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, aluminum binding, I guess. I don't know, but whatever the reason is, it's in there, and you don't want aluminum in your baked goods, people. You want to avoid your aluminum, so get aluminum free. If you're going to do some baking, like I will be, you get aluminum-free baking powder and non-GMO baking powder. Make sure that it's non-GMO. So that's what I have to say about that. And, have a healthy, happy Thanksgiving, I say, and enjoy your family and be thankful for the people in your lives that you love and you care about. And, and so I hope that, I don't know, I hope we can bring some light to the truth about, the treatment of the indigenous people. And I think everybody kind of knows in this country that these things happen, but people somehow don't, I don't know, they feel like it's in the past. I think that happens a lot, don't you?
Yeah, well, they think, that just happened a long time ago. That'll never happen now. Like, we're safe now. No, we're not.
Yeah, I think
people think that they're safe, and that that was a result of people back then just being savages and ignorant, but it's not the case.
The NCAA passes, Native American people are like, now it's you guys,
You tag, you're it,
Yeah, they're like, see, it's about to happen.
Yeah.
But they had all kinds of laws in Canada too. And we were interviewing Kevin Annett. I looked it up, and there was like all certain things like the NDAA that they had passed to make it legal for them to basically, steal land from the Indians and to kill them, to just murder whatever they wanted to do. So this is how this is what happened to the Native people after Thanksgiving. They had a nice little dinner, and then it was like, party's over. So I know I love psych, not funny, but anyway, but it's important to, I guess, look at that and know the truth about it, and then be thankful for the Native people and that we're on this land. I guess be thankful that they shared it with us. I don't know how thankful they are, but I mean for that. But I'm certainly thankful to be in America, to be in this country.
Yeah, definitely, me too. So
it's a mixed bag. There it really is. There's a lot of pros and cons to Thanksgiving, and as far as the history goes, it's kind of a gray history. But maybe we can change that and make it a brighter future.
Definitely, I'm with you on that. Yes.
Yes, so maybe we can do that. And so have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and blessings to your family. Eat well, eat healthy, and until next time, peace, truth, and love.
Peace, truth, and love, people. Bye-bye.
In the United States, Thanksgiving Day is often portrayed as an event back in the 1620s when English colonists held a feast to thank their Native American allies for helping them start new lives in America. But from the perspective of many Native Americans, the holiday symbolizes centuries of land seizure and the erosion of tribal cultures in the United States. Of course, as the U.S. expanded its territory, the government had allotted land for Native American tribes. To understand the scale of their land losses, let me show you this video over here. It's from Sam Hilliard from Louisiana State University. It's fascinating. You'll see the land in green is what was traditionally Native American land, American Indian land. Say, look at that, 1810, 20, 30, and the green just keeps diminishing. White, increasing, eating up the pie of land. Now, today, more than 65% of those tribal reservation lands are now in the hands of non-Native Americans. The question is, how did this happen? And additionally, what does this mean for the future of a people? Well, as we introduced him, Russell Means is here. We're going to discuss this. I mean, there's so many big questions here that can't be properly addressed in 25 minutes, but we're going to try our best. On Thanksgiving Day, it's an existential question, is it not, for many Americans? Because Thanksgiving, the myths surrounding Thanksgiving show us that Thanksgiving is about honor and friendship and food and niceties and this kind of harmony of cultures. But the reality is very different from that.
The reality is, again, and I can't say it enough, it's the big lie. This country has lied from day one. John Smith, who was Captain John Smith of the English military, who co-founded Jamestown. And when he left Jamestown to go back to England, he first went to Cape Cod area, Connecticut, Massachusetts area, and he spread smallpox and measles-filled blankets among the Indian people. Over 90% of the Indian population of that entire area was wiped out. Hence, when the Pilgrims came, they in fact built their village, the Pilgrim village, on the ashes of the alleged capital of the Indian nation at that time, and went on from there with the big lies. In fact, they would not allow Indian people into Plymouth Village unless they had business to do with someone inside the village. And then never did they break bread or eat with Indian people. Not once. In fact, the opposite was the truth.
And as many Americans are celebrating Thanksgiving, many American Indians are mourning this day. We saw an event last year. There were some cameras sent there. Do you think that's the way to go about it, to show a counter reality, an alternative narrative?
No, I'm through with protesting. I believe that if you want to be sovereign, you have to act sovereign. And the United States of America has proven that it's the biggest liar in history, and it's proven by their Constitution, which backs up the treaties of the land. So if you expect this country to be just to anyone, you included, that's the big lie, because they have violated from day one the Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution, okay? Had they lived up to it, we'd still own the land that you showed on that map of 1840. Yeah. All that land would still be ours, honorably. But no one ever says anything about the majority of Indian people who lived east of the Mississippi. Now, at the time of 1500, it's estimated by the white man's own historians, archaeologists, anthropologists, that there are approximately 12 million people, Indian people, in the continental United States in 1500. By 1900, there were 250,000 left. That's over 99% genocide. You talk about a Holocaust, that's over 99%. Since that time, in the year 2000, the census has proven there's only 250,000 full-blooded Indian people in the United States. Zero population growth for the last century. The ongoing genocide of my people is because we happen to still live. That little map, that map right there, holds 40% of the natural resource wealth of the United States of America. And that's still under our land. And yet, they will not acknowledge that. They have total control.
Let's bring Latoya in, dip into some of that incredible, immense feedback that we have for the show.
Right. I mean, our readers and our viewers have been just going nuts with trying to talk about and understand this whole land rights issue. We have a video from Mary Catherine to talk a little bit more about where she's trying to find some clarity.
1923, the Supreme Court said that Indians do not have title to their land, and whenever a white person discovers it, the white person automatically can take it. And this is still good law today. The Supreme Court still cites this case, Johnson v. McIntosh, and the whole reason the Supreme Court decided this case was they said that Indians are racially inferior because they do not farm. So I'm wondering, to Russell Means, what does it mean to be Native American today in America and celebrate Thanksgiving?
Again, the big lie. We cannot farm. We have provided the world with 75% of what the world eats today. It was developed through our genealogy, our gene splicing, our inventiveness concerning agriculture. Okay? That's another thing. But I just want to get back to the present holdings. It's held in trust by the federal government. Can you get that word?
How did that, and explain that, particularly for our global audience, how did that happen? That you had these reservations, which were owned by Native Americans. How did it come to be that 65% of the reservations went into the hands of non-natives?
They went because the federal government holds the land in trust. We do not own the land. It's held in trust for us because we're incompetent in the white man's world. So consequently, they can do with the land what they want. They can give it to a church. They can give it to the Mormons, the Catholics, the Baptists. They can give it to anyone. Ranchers, casinos,
yeah.
From out of the country. Mm. There are casinos run by people from Singapore and Malaysia. And in this country, on Indian land. So what we have here is a subterfuge of alleged Indian ownership. Why can't they do with the land? You come to my land on the northern plains in the South Dakota, and you get up on the top hills and you see that beautiful land, you wonder how come we're poor. We're poor because it's enforced poverty. We live on 1,500 square miles of land. We have one grocery store, for example, owned by non-Indians.
I'm actually going to show a map of that, and you call it the Republic of Lakota.
Yes.
And that's in South Dakota. This is it over here in yellow. What I found fascinating about Lakota is that, as you mentioned, beautiful land, incredible land. And looking at some of the statistics, it's called, officially Pine Ridge Reservation, if you look for it on a map. The statistics are almost an anomaly compared to the rest of the country, maybe even the region. It's like taking Haiti or Swaziland statistically and plugging it right into the middle of the United States of America with life expectancy, low life expectancy, high rates of infant mortality, 97% poverty. How did that come to be?
That comes to be because it's a designed genocidal program. That's what Hitler said when he formed the so-called labor camps, the concentration camps for the Jews and the Poles and the gays. When he did that, apartheid system taken directly from the reservation system of America, both those regimes are gone. And people of the world are repaying for the theft and the original theft of those lands, but not in the United States. In fact, the theft goes on. But the Republic of Lakota, we are basing our nonviolent, non-threatening reemergence as an independent nation based on the Constitution of the United States of America, and we're going into the international community to verify the legitimacy of those treaties as valid international documents.
On that note, we had a great comment from Facebook from Kavitha Chakru, who asks, how can federal Indian law be changed or amended so that it's more just or fair for tribes? I see you almost spit out that water. But she does speak about the management of the trust land after the Cobell settlement, which is the policy that created the problems, fractionated land, and the plenary power doctrine. How does this all work together, and how do you think politically we can start fixing this really egregious error?
First of all, the United States of America absolutely makes up laws, plenary power. You just pick that out of the air. What is plenary power? It means total power over a subject people. That's what it means. Yet they don't define it that way. They'll define it in much more broader terms, because we go up against the United States government every year at the UN Commission. It used to be on the UN Commission on Human Rights. Now it's the Council of Human Rights, okay? We go up against them every year with our statistics. And getting back, we have the worst statistics in the world of poverty and health in all the world, except for 8 countries, all in Africa. You extrapolate AIDS from that, and we have the worst statistics in the world. We're worse off today than Haiti. The American Indian people in general, I'm not just talking about my Lakota people, I'm talking about the American Indian people in general. Health-wise, we're worse off than Haiti, and poverty-wise. I mean, when you got 97% unemployment, it's atrocious, it's genocidal. How do you destroy a people? First, you outlaw their spirituality. Then you steal their children. And then you, by cuisine, by the misuse of food, you commit genocide. They don't have to shoot us. What they're doing, you know, our life expectancy for a male is 43.9 years. For a female, it's 52 years. So they go to the Commission on Human Rights and they say, oh, they have a life expectancy of 48 years, which is marrying the two extremes. What I'm saying here is rather than they give us commodity food, give us commodity food, high in sodium, high in carbohydrates, feeds into sugar diabetes, which engenders heart failure. Okay? That's what we die of. And we don't live long enough to get cancer.
Today, we have a very important and serious video for you all. I'm talking about my Black Friday survival guide. Number 1, dress for success. Your wardrobe is essential for shopping on Black Friday. First and foremost, we want to bundle up with some layers. You never know when you're going to break a sweat fighting the stay-at-home mom for that Keurig. You want to be able to rip off those jackets, throw on some windbreaker shorts, ones that zip on and off. If you still have those from 1997, wear those, people. Comfortable shoes are a must. You don't want flip-flops or anything that's going to be falling off your feet, so don't go for those cute little fringe booties. You want fighting shoes. I'm talking cleats, anything with sharp edges, heels, something that you can fight other people off with. I'm kidding. But in general, you're going to be shopping for a long time, so comfortable shoes are essential. Crossbody bag. You want something that can keep all of your essentials that's always by your side. You don't want some crazy psycho lady trying to steal your purse thinking it's on sale. No, 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 no. Protect yourself. Hair up and out of your face. You don't want your weave getting tangled amongst the hangers of anything like this. Nah, son. Put your hair up. I'm talking messy knot. I'm talking Mulan bun. Ponytail. Nothing cute. Something that is a fighting hairstyle. Should you shave your head in anticipation for Black Friday? Maybe. I didn't say it. Yes, I did. And finally, little to no makeup. This is not a fashion show, ladies and gentlemen. You are here to cut bitches. Not really. But you're on a shopping mission. So look accordingly. Like Shrek or Hagrid. Energy is key. You are probably in a food coma from all that turkey, and you need to combat it to get down to your mission. I'm talking coffee, I'm talking tea, energy tea. I am not encouraging the use of energy drinks or illicit drugs. The buddy system. Bring your wolf pack. Even if you only have a wolf pack of one other member, that's okay. You need someone to keep up morale. You can encourage each other, divide and conquer. And most importantly, if you start feeling like you're fading and you need a little shut-eye, either they can throw some water on your face or they can watch over you while you nap. Whatever kind of friends you have. I'm not here to judge. Assertiveness. Black Friday is not for the faint of heart. Some of these moms have been training for the last 15 years, which is probably only as many years as you've been alive. Stay alert and don't let any of them intimidate you, because you can do this. I have faith in you. Fight back. Sustenance. Food and water is the most important. You do not want to be that girl who passes out in Brandy Melville and wakes up with the hot worker looking over her holding a Gatorade. And yes, I'm speaking from personal experience. And no, it will not happen again! Knowledge is power, people. You gotta do your research. Follow your favorite stores on social media. See when they open. Figure out the times. Don't show up to the mall and it's not actually open. Again, speaking from experience. You want to cut coupons. Do anything you can to do your research beforehand. This is like midterms. No, this is like finals. This is like your dissertation. You're getting your PhD in Black Friday. And finally, a to-do list. You want to plan accordingly. Make a map. Find a map. Draw a map. Write your routes of exactly where you're going to go to get the best deals at what time, and make a to-do list of all the stores that you want to hit, because this is not about failure. This is about conquering Black Friday. Okay guys, well I hope you enjoyed my Black Friday tips. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any survival tips for my favorite holiday. Yes, I mean Black Friday.
Forefathers weren't the Pilgrims. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock was landed on us.
Plymouth Rock is an important symbol to Americans because it is taught in the American educational system that the supposed founding fathers of America, the Pilgrims, landed on a rock on the shore of Plymouth Harbor in Plymouth, Massachusetts is false. There are no contemporary references to the Pilgrims landing on a rock at Plymouth. There are two primary sources written by Pilgrims themselves describing the land in Plymouth in 1620. The first book is William Bradford's Journal of Plymouth Plantation and the 1622 book Mort's Relation. Both simply state that the Pilgrims landed. Neither mentions any rocks in their account of the landing. The first references to Plymouth Rock are found over 100 years after the Pilgrims actually landed. The story began in 1614, when a band of English explorers under Captain John Smith, better known for having been rescued by Pocahontas at the Jamestown colony several years earlier, and some other ships under his command, arrived to map Cape Cod and vicinity was completed, and sailed home to England with a ship full of Patuxet Indians and Nauset Indians bound for slavery. The Nauset and Patuxet tribes were outraged by the kidnappings and became extremely hostile. English and French ships visiting Plymouth and Cape Cod were no longer welcomed with profitable beaver trade, as an unwitting French captain and crew would discover in 1617 when their ship was burned and almost everyone, a few were enslaved by the Nauset. The explorers left behind smallpox, which virtually wiped out the entire village at Patuxet and those who had escaped.
Horrors of Thanksgiving and America as a white future minority. The idea of Europe bringing civilization to the Americas simply flips truth on its head. This is what European explorers actually found in North America.
Far and away the most beautiful city on Earth. 5 times the size of London or Rome. Great towers and buildings rising from the water. 60,000 gleaming houses, and how spacious and how well built they were. Of beautiful stonework and cedarwood, and the wood of other sweet-scented trees. The many streets and boulevards of the city were so neat and well swept, despite the multitude of inhabitants, crisscrossed with a complex network of canals, like an enormous Venice, but also remarkable floating gardens that reminded of nowhere else on Earth.
While Europe was drinking water from its polluted city rivers, huge aqueducts transported America's water from fresh springs.
But what impressed most were the special merchant areas, where timber and tiles and other building materials were bought and sold, as well as greengrocer streets, where one could buy every sort of vegetable, fruits, honeys, nut paste and chocolates. Astonished by the personal cleanliness and hygiene of the colourfully dressed populace, and by their extravagant use of soaps, deodorants and breath sweeteners.
Most Europeans never bathed and kept clothes on at all times. The Pilgrim's Notes biographer Zini Feiner had a terrible smell. Indians tried, quote, without success to teach them to bathe. The settlers also had bad breath from rotting teeth. Death and starvation was so common that corpses were just dumped in open pits known as poreholes. Many turned to alcohol and committed suicide. In fact, the story of the first settlers has been deliberately changed, notes author James Lowen, because the truth's so shameful. They actually settled hundreds of miles further south and stayed in America because the mission was a failure. Their real aim, reports historian Robert Beverly, was to find some gold and take it back to Europe.
They spent their days digging random holes in the ground, haplessly looking for gold instead of planting crops. Soon they were starving and digging up putrid Indian corpses to eat. They took some Indian prisoners and forced them to teach the colonists how to farm.
And the meal with the natives wasn't quite the Thanksgiving shown on TV and in schoolbooks.
The colonists offered the Indians a toast to eternal friendship, whereupon the chief, his family, advisors, and 200 followers dropped dead of poison.
Far and away the most massive act of genocide in the history of the world. The death of 100 million indigenous people in the, quote, American Holocaust, some from disease but also vast numbers from a deliberate policy aimed at wiping out the race that mainstream history books continue to pretend never happened. This was a map of Indian nations across the US. 80% of the first government's entire budget went on attacking existing Indian settlements to take their developed farmland. Settlers would most probably not have survived, writes Jennings, on their own. .95% of America's entire population was then wiped out. American Holocaust notes there is documented evidence of colonist leaders going town after town, deliberately killing all men, women and children. Yet school texts and history books remain silent. Orders came from the very top. Under the direct order of George Washington, at least 28 of 30 Seneca towns and all the towns of the Mohawk, Onondaga and Cayuga were simply obliterated. George Washington wrote the Indian country, quote, must be destroyed. Thomas Jefferson called to, quote, pursue Indians to extermination. Nobel Peace Prize winner Theodore Roosevelt called beneficial the eradication of the native race. Senate notes genocide was official public policy. California Governor Peter Burnett in his 1851 message to the legislature.
Extermination must continue to be waged until the Indian becomes extinct.
Another governor issued the public proclamation to, quote, pursue, kill and destroy all Indians. A witness notes the ensuing bloodbaths practically wiped out the native race.
The whites shoot them down like wolves, men, women and children, wherever they could find them. This war of extermination against the Aborigines is tending to the final extinction of the race.
What reportedly saved the race from extinction was their use as slave labor.
This extermination policy has proved so injurious to the interests of the whites. Indian labor is indispensable.
Highly prized slaves were Indian girls as young as 3, said the Marysville Appeal, for fulfilling double roles of labor and of lust. Phil Lane Jr. is hereditary chief of the Hankton One First Nation. Phil, really great to see you. What facts are being airbrushed out of history?
Practices were that sometimes you don't want to speak about. And they not only wiped out most of the people, but the way they did it, the greatest loss of people at any time in history.
Cultural genocide is still being waged on surviving Indians, reports Truthout. From the start of the 20th century, children were forced into so-called Indian boarding schools, designed to, quote, kill the Indian in them, according to the system's founding father, Richard Pratt. Indians are obliged to change their name to a Western one like Tom, made to dress and style their hair like whites. Indigenous Americans are also forced to adopt Christianity and all other parts of Western culture. Lenore Stefan witnessed the abuse firsthand. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Can you tell us what happened?
Federal policy here was to take the Indian out of the person. They beat the language out of like my father. He grew up his whole life, his hands were kind of bent. As a result, he used to talk our native language, but he never wanted me to learn. I consider myself a recovering Catholic because of, the sexual abuse that I experienced, from the Catholic Church.
Daniel Sheehan says the genocide is continuing. He's helped start the Lakota Child Rescue Project to stop the forcible removal of Indian children. Daniel, thanks a lot for coming on. Could you tell us what is happening to the children?
And what we discovered is that not only were the children being taken on an epidemic level, that it was happening on every single one of the reservations and in virtually every one of the major cities. The International Convention Against Genocide actually has a provision which expressly identifies what's going on as genocide, that the systematic undertaking on the part of the racially dominant culture in a given nation state, taking away indigenous children from their native tribes and putting them in the white culture has been identified as genocide.
For an official banquet to celebrate 350 years since Pilgrims landed, authorities invited native Indian Frank James to speak. But when they saw his speech taken from a settler's own account of what really happened, they wouldn't let him read it.
The Pilgrims had hardly explored the shores 4 days before they robbed the graves of my ancestors and stole their corn, wheat, and beans. The Indians knew this fact, yet welcomed and befriended the settlers, little knowing that they would be killed by the settlers' guns. What has happened cannot be changed, but today we work toward a better America, a more Indian America, where people and nature are once again important.
Frank has helped start a national day of mourning each Thanksgiving, a protest over the Plymouth Harbour and Mayflower replica. On the West Coast, thousands also gather for Un-Thanksgiving Day, calling on the US to honour treaties promising Indian rights and international law. The American government faces increasing domestic and international pressure. The Supreme Court has reaffirmed the validity of the Treaty of Fort Laramie, giving Indians rights over the area.
This is Ozzy Skateboard, and you're listening to